Hello, dear friends. I realized after the last video that I actually didn't mention a very, very important piece in this transition from the identity, our current identity based on our past, this whole accumulated past that we live now as a full-fledged identity that we believe is who we are. And then we talked about the transitioning basically into a whole new identity and how important it is that we are able to get over here and feel it. It's a feeling, it is a felt sense where we go like, oh, now I am somebody who, and I encourage you to watch yesterday's video where I went into more depth about it. But here's a very important piece that I really want to add to it. The reason that it is so hard to let go of our old identity, well, first of all, is because we don't even know there is another option. We just think this is who I am. It's always going to be like this. I'm not never going to get better. I will never be able to change. I will never attract the right partner into my life. I will never, I'm not deserving to be successful. That's that whole core that we live as if it's true. It's our deepest core beliefs, and there's a big bundle of them. Now, there is something about this that makes us want to stay in that. You may say, well, why would I want to stay in that very limited, unhappy, unhealthy state? Well, it is because it's familiar, and in the familiarity, there is a sense of safety. And from the chakras, the root chakras is all about safety. And that is the one that basically runs most of our life. It wants us to feel safe, or it wants to feel safe, that there's a part of us that puts safety as the number one in everything we do. We will always scan for safety. That's just what it's like to live in this dimension where the duality creates a lot of unsafety and unpredictability. So that's a core thing from the root chakra, and we have to honor that. Remember, in another previous video, I talked about that there's two deep belief systems that keep us also stuck in the old, which is that the belief that I can't do it and the belief that I'm unworthy or not good enough. Those are kind of, they're holding it all together, right? But the one I haven't mentioned is that safety. I want to stay safe, even though I don't like what I'm living right now. I don't like any of it, but I feel safe. Somehow I feel safe in what is actually not safe, right? It's not safe to be in, let's say, an unhealthy relationship or live in an area where things happen that might not be very good, or it's not safe to keep eating things that make us unhealthy. So even though it sounds crazy, but we all probably know that. And so we are looking for safety. And what is the most safe in our circumstances is to stay put. That is probably the highest sense of safety we can find here, the old system, even though it's not safe. But at least we know what we're in. It's familiar, and in familiarity, most of us find safety. That's why we often choose it. So when we start moving out of that to create this new identity that I've been talking about, where I am somebody who, and then you bring a whole new experience to that. Whereas here, I am somebody who, and then all the thing doesn't have enough, it's not good enough, it's not loved, will never make it, can't change, not liked, not able to be successful. So it's all the limitations, right? They're like, I'm not. That is what we want to move out of. But because we still feel safe here, at least more safe, because it's familiar here, it's like, it's not safe. It's not safe to be all the things we want, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. The reason we keep sabotaging ourselves, and we do, right? You start a new program, you start a new diet, you start a new this or that, and you keep going for a while, but then you divert back to the old. And that is the self-sabotage that we also have to recognize, because when we are self-sabotaging our present state, or our attempt to move out of it is what I should say, it is because we don't know if it's going to be safe to change. So this safety piece is really, really important, and we need to address that in order to make that shift. I mean, just think about it. How many times have you tried to change and it didn't work? You got pulled back into the old. So that's why we do self-sabotage. And that's why change is so hard. That whole identity, and it is an identity, it is not who you are, it's not who I am, but because it's so familiar and safe, we do believe that this is who I am, and that's why I can never change. Now, let's say we get out of that, and it's going to take some work, and please, I always suggest reach out for support. Very few people are able to do this on their own, at least in the beginning, because this old identity is so thick and heavy and sticky and invisible. It's like you can't see it. It's like that. It's like a blind spot. You cannot see it. So that's when you have an extra pair of eyes, then you will that those will help you see what you can't see yet, and also help you start coming out of it and feel safe around it. So there is a lot to be said to get support, and there is so much support in the world. You can always reach out to me, and you can also reach out to anybody that you may already be working with or already know or feel moved towards. But don't try and do it on your own, because you will just go right back, because you cannot see yet what keeps pulling you back. So here we are, right? We're going to make the attempt. I'm willing to go over here now. And then I will be somebody who is rich, making $20,000 this month. When you think about that, when you start feeling into that identity, who is somebody that makes, I'm just going to say $20,000 this month, you might notice that there is like a fear, hesitation, something. There might be memories where you did make a lot of money and then this happened, and it may have happened more than once. And you don't want that to happen again. So, whoop, back in the old. At least that pain that I experienced when I made a lot of money and lost it all, that was so horrible. I'd rather just stay poor for the rest of my life and not go through that painful experience again. So those are the things that we are going to meet when we step over here. So I want to make I want to make this kind of a middle step for us. Because knowing that feeling safe is at the top of our priorities, we need to first get embodied in that feeling where you will say, I am somebody who feels safe making a change, making money, being loved, being in a loving relationship. Like, yeah, but every time I was, it ended up bad, la 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 la. Yeah, that's most of us have that in our memory bank, in our old identity, which I'm not going to start calling old because we are going to make a transition where we look back at it and we can say, I am now somebody who used to be these things, who used to not be able to maintain a relationship, make money. But you see, you're making a step out that your nervous system is going to be able to embrace more because there is safety in the smaller steps, not in the big leaps. So here we can start making some statements like, I am now somebody who is beginning to feel safe when I'm successful, or who is beginning to feel safe in moving out of my old identity. Let's say that one together. I think that's a really nice one as a step out that we can probably embrace, that your nervous system can go like, that doesn't feel too threatening. So try and say this with me and just see how it fits in you, how it lands. I am now somebody who is beginning to feel safe in a new life situation, in a more peaceful life situation. I am now somebody who is beginning to feel safe in leaving what has been familiar. Let's say that one again. I am now somebody who is beginning to feel safe when I leave what has been so familiar. I'm going to ask you to feel that and see if there is part of you that goes, oh yeah, I can accept that. Because then your nervous system is on board with you. It's not going like, no, because then this is going to happen again. That's probably when we go too far. So for today, I wanted to invite us all to stay kind of in the space, in the gap between the old and the new, just to build up some momentum and some muscle and some maybe some inspiration of possibility, that like, oh, well, I can accept this. At least that's a step out of this and a step closer to this. So we can hang out there and get used to that until that becomes like, yeah, I can do that. So by practicing it, and that's why practice is so important when we're changing our neural pathways, because they will always want to go back to what's familiar and what's considered safe. So we want to find the steps where we go, oh yeah, this actually feels good. So I am now somebody who is beginning to feel safe in a new situation. And again, I always want to invite you to really feel that as an identity. And that's why I say I am somebody. It's like an identity. eventually they will fall away. But they're almost like they're little trains we can get on, you know. This is what I need to do to get over here. I can't just make that leap. So get on the boat or get on the train or whatever and just say, okay, I'm now in the compartment that says I am somebody who's beginning to feel safe to leave the familiar. And then I really invite you to feel what it feels like to be that somebody, to be that I am. I am somebody who I am actually beginning to feel safe in new situations. And then you really want to embody it and you walk as if you are that and you start trying it on. You might, you do your yoga or you go, oh yeah, you really want to bring it in many times a day, even if it's just for a few minutes. But it's just receiving that feeling of the new that will make you feel so good. And then little by little, you're going to start moving and you start growing so that this gap is actually going to get smaller because you are growing into yourself. You're beginning to fill out that gap where you start feeling like, yeah, I can actually do that, right? So that now I am somebody who is able to do it. I feel safe. I'm able. And then you may want to put in like, I'm somebody who feels worthy of making changes into a better life, in starting to receive love or allowing and receiving the good to come to me. These are the little steps that will get us here. And then at some point, we do feel safe in being in a new situation that is better and more expanded. And you might also say something like, I am somebody who attracts love into my life and is able to keep it or is able to stay in it. So, because if we have in our past where we got love, we received love and then it went away. I mean, how many people? I think all of us have experienced that. So now we also want to bring in, I'm somebody who feels safe to receive love and to stay in it. Oh, that feels good. Okay. So then we're eliminating the one that says, no, it's not safe. It's like, no, I am now somebody. So little by little, we are moving still as our identity. It's not like the bypass because we want to bring every part along. Like, I now feel safe. I am now somebody who feels safe. And then whatever it is for each one of us. And I am somebody who now feels I am capable of making the change because I feel safer. Can you see the difference? Like we add a little bit, we make sure that we cover all the aspects of us that would normally pull us back into the old. And the main thing is we need to feel safe. If we don't feel safe in the new, which most of us won't, maybe for a short while, and then it's like that was too much. My nervous system had not fully adjusted to receive love, to be in a beautiful, loving relationship, or to be super successful and making 20K a month. I'm just putting out some things. So find what is true for you. Most of us will not feel comfortable making a ton of money suddenly if we have been in this one here where we barely get by. So here's like, oh, I'm now somebody who's beginning to feel safe to have more than enough in my life and feel that identity, feel that I am that is saying that, and let it fill you out. What does it feel like when you begin to embrace and embody that? And then we can start going more here. Like, I am somebody who is very successful doing what I love. I am, and then you feel it. I know I repeat myself, but that is the most important thing because it is our identity, right? Here's the identity that doesn't believe anything is possible. And life is simply reflecting it back to us. Here we are beginning to feel new possibilities, and we might notice that there's going to be little signs. Oh, suddenly somebody calls you and said, "Hey, do you want to join me?" And you go, "Oh, wow, that normally doesn't happen." So then you start like, "Oh, wow, it's something is actually shifting." And then eventually we're over here and we walk as somebody who is successful, even though it may not be out there visibly yet. We are becoming a new identity. And that is what it all comes down to in this dimension. Because we are still in this dimension, and there's no reason why we should not live the fullness of who we are, where we are fulfilled on all levels. There's no reason it shouldn't happen unless we choose to just like, I don't care about that. I just want to whatever. That's fine too. It is all our own longing and movement inside that we learn to trust and that lead our lives. And then we clear out the doubts and the fears and the not able to and the unworthiness to make room for this to go out so that we now can actually walk around. I am somebody who has more than enough, feels really comfortable um, being seen, being successful, being loved, feeling loved. All that. That is how I want to share today this beautiful transition we can make from the old, you know, moving through the gap into the new identity, which is already here. Let's also remember this. This identity that we want to become and live as is just as present now as the one we are living right now that is not very happy. This one is already here. And it is only because we have these, it's not safe to be fully myself. I can't do it. I don't deserve it. These are the reasons that we stay here. But this one is basically, let's call it our future self, right? I mentioned that. That is one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's terms, which I've always loved. So that is already here. You do not need to create it. You just need to follow the longing and then take the steps so your nervous system can feel aligned with embodying, attracting, becoming, expressing this one, where fulfillment is just your natural state. So please comment, let me know, like, share, subscribe if you aren't yet. If you like these messages, keep coming back. Um, and let's bring some aliveness to this. And of course, I always love to hear from you. So please share if this resonates, what happens when you give it a try, where on your gap do you feel you need to spend a little more time until you can really feel it. But don't think it's going to happen overnight. There's a whole rearrangement of our neural network that needs to happen. And that only happens by repetition and by feeling it, right? The feeling is kind of the magnet. So that's why we need to get to the feeling of it. And then we start experiencing it more and more in our life. All right, friends, I think this was a wonderful sharing. I like it. And that's, of course, why I share what I do, because it deeply, deeply resonates with me. So I will see you again soon, and I hope you have a wonderful day and that you practice these little steps to get through the gap into the life that is waiting for you.